and welcome to Good Boys Gone Bland, Season 3, Episode 10, Old Yeller. We are on the final episode of The Doghouse.
Old Yellow.
It was yellow, was I saying, in the Texas accent they use in the movie?
Yeah, the Confederate accent.
Yeah.
I don't think we can't do that anymore.
I'm sorry. Okay, let me start over. Old Yellow, the movie from 1957 is what we watched this week. I'm your co-host, Denali.
I'm your co-host, Ryan.
I'm your cow wrangler, Jace.
Oh, not this guy. We left him home while the real men went out cow driving.
Yeah, they can't
Now we have to
trust
invite
me.
him to dinner.
I fall asleep every time, and then the coyotes come up and nip the calves. It's a problem.
I feel like we really got a slice of farm life.
Oh, man.
Last movie.
And you know what? I gotta say, I'm over it.
I'm fucking done with it.
It was...
I'm really glad that we live where we live when we live.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we can talk about the stuff in Old Yeller in a moment. But before we get into that, I think we should talk about the fact that this is the final episode of The Doghouse.
Yeah, we're going out with a bang.
Going out.
Yeah.
I just realized what he meant. Yeah, much like Old Yeller at the end of this movie, we are putting down this season.
I might have rabies right now too. Can one of you guys help me get out of here?
So, it's the final episode of The Doghouse. It's bittersweet. What better movie to end it on than Old Yeller, a classic? Not because the dog dies, but because that he is the most iconic dog. I think.
Well, I think actually I would fight that. This movie was pretty terrible, except for the very, very iconic moment that everybody mentions when you say Old Yeller. Like,
right.
I mean, the movie's name is synonymous with dog dying in a sad way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in 2019, this film was selected for preservation into the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. So this is considered culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. This is an iconic dog by any measure. I'm just waiting in 50 years when Air Bud gets added to the Library of Congress as well. Because before this movie, I was considering Air Bud as our main dog.
What crack
were they
smoking
smoking?
bureaucrat put this movie in the fucking in the Library of Congress?
I thought the same thing.
Okay, I'm like looking at the legacy of this movie because I don't know about you guys, but I didn't see this movie beforehand, right?
Okay.
And
Not when I
they
was a
said-
kid.
Okay, they said Old Yeller went on to become an important cultural film for baby boomers. Like, this is like considered a keystone like movie, and I remember my parents and my grandparents would talk about this movie all the time.
So could we revamp our Armageddon conspiracy theory to go back to Old Yeller?
Probably.
Old Yeller was a, pro-rural, pro-Confederate sort of view on American life, and it painted that part of history with rose-tinted glasses. And
Oh, totally.
yeah, made boomers want to stay in that era and stay part of the past and turn them a little bit, conservative. They had this like nice, fun family movie to look back on as part of their childhood. And, when technology, when new politics and progress kind of challenged their worldview, they said, well, look, this is who I am. This is how I was raised.
Yeah, we found the next step up because, like, in the 80s and even kind of today, there's old people who kind of like, reminisce about the 50s, how simple, how rugged, how like kids were tough back then. Darn it, like none like the soft kids nowadays. And then we watched the 50s version of that movie, and they're like, oh no, kids are soft nowadays. Kids in 1870 were hard. And there is that kind of rugged individualism that I think is fetishized in United States culture.
Like my dad and all my family on that side grew up in the country, in California. I mean, you guys have been there.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to say, like, when I was a kid, I didn't have what you have. I didn't have all your toys. I had a dog, a stick, and a gun.
Oh, look
Okay.
at Mr. Soft here with a stick. We had rocks.
And so, yeah, that's kind of the attitude I was raised with. I don't agree with it at all anymore. And now I'm like, please bring your children inside sometimes.
Some of our kids may have died.
We were better
turned out
off
okay.
in caves. hunting saber-tooth tigers and dying of dysentery.
The good old days fallacy,
You
right?
kids with your caves. We just dug holes in the ground and tried to duck the pterodactyls.
Oh, look at Mr. Moneybags with shovels here to dig with.
Oh, that guy didn't get his fingers bit off by a 12-foot armadillo. Look at him.
Well, look at Mr. Monopoly Man with fingers. Back in my day, we were just amoebas.
Yeah, I feel that.
Can we go any farther?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Amoeba is kind of back to like carte blanche.
Well, look at this Mr. McMansion over here with organelles. Back in my day, we were just atoms searching for the next Bond.
Kind of hot.
Searching for the next Bond. I think that's a good tagline for like an atom dating service. So are you guys, like, after watching Old Yeller, and we'll get into a review, I mean, we're already starting to review. I feel like we can't even help ourselves.
There's not, yeah. I mean,
there's no...
I'm full of Old Yeller jokes.
Yeah, Sam, do you guys feel any level of, like, melancholy or sadness that we're leaving the dog season, or are you guys ready to move on?
Yeah. I think as a whole, when I tell people about us, when we get to dog season, they're like, what? Like, it was like, oh, we review Ben Affleck, and people are like, oh, cool, okay, yeah, I like a bunch of Ben Affleck movies. Yeah, they're like, I think actually a subset of people, kind of ties in, at my work, think I have a podcast where the only thing we do is review Ben Affleck movies. They don't know the name.
At the beginning, that was kind of the idea.
Yeah, right?
We did not set a limit until like movie 5 or 6, until we were like, you guys want to do like 10? I feel like...
I may be going back on my statement that Ben Affleck, you can never have too much Ben Affleck.
What would we would just like quit? We get to his last publishable movie, and then actually each week we get together and we just say, yeah, I heard he's filming.
Well, the J-Lo news would have been a whole series of episodes.
Yeah, we would have become an Affleck Watch podcast at that point, where we would just talk about just news about him.
I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want that
thank
either.
God
I'm
we
glad
pivoted.
we pivoted, into a theme-based podcast. But yeah, like you said, Jason, when we tell people that we're doing a dog season, I think that's a fun thing to talk about. I think we've had a lot of fun just in this season reviewing probably the most ridiculous movies ever made. We've talked behind the scenes about other movies that we wish we did. I sent you guys that video from the Shaggy DA, which I thought was very good.
Hilarious.
I think there's room for a Doghouse Revisited. Maybe
Oh, definitely.
There's always room.
the dog has a pup,
For me, my emotions on this season are a little different. I'm proud. Like, I'm proud that we got through 3 seasons of this stupid idea. And look at us. We're 3 seasons through, and we're planning on keeping going.
32 episodes in right now.
And so this is kind of, I texted you guys like, man, I have kind of something I want to talk about. And this is on that note about our, I would say not success, but our we're doing okay. We're making stuff that people
Our
seem to like.
Unparalleled triumph. Yeah.
Totally.
Top of the mountain.
Now-
Top 10%.
Oh, yeah. Oof, that's crazy.
Apparently that bar is really low. I did not realize. That's
Well, there's like 2.6 million podcasts. And I guess
260,000.
2.4 million just flame out instantly.
And I guess we're in the top 10% in viewership, which is just, I didn't realize the bar is just like a micron above the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, though. So I was on the way home from somewhere. I think it might have been the gym or something.
Mm-hmm.
And in my neighborhood, probably a half mile down the road, this car comes out in front of me, and I'm looking at its rear end. It's a little white car, kind of like a hatchback. And it's got decals all over the back of the car. And I can't quite tell what they say. I mean, at some point, they're kind of like nonsense. But they're all saying the same thing, like over and over. But some guy is trying to advertise his business.
Okay.
And they're high quality decals. It's not like somebody just wrote on a sticker and was like, ooh. And a couple of them, I don't want to say the actual name.
Sure. No, of course. Yeah, don't.
So I'm going to use a fake person's name instead of the real person's name. One on the back bumper said Jeff Pod. And it's like, what does that mean? And so I kind of got a little bit closer. And on the other side, it's like thejeffpod.com.
Okay.
And I was like, is this a restaurant? Like, what is going on? there's a big decal that looks like a logo and has some more words on the back window, and I can't quite read it. So I like kind of tailgate him at a stoplight, and I'm craning my neck, and I read it finally, and it says, it's a logo, and it says, The Jeff Podcast.
Oh.
And I'm like, whoa, this guy wrapped his car with decals about his podcast.
Damn. Okay.
And it looks pretty good. I mean, he must have spent quite a bit of money to get these decals like designed. You know, you had to find a designer to make a logo. We know what that's like. It costs money.
Yep.
He had to get somebody to put him on his car and all this stuff. And then I'm kind of reading through them again, and I noticed that there's something way down low on the bottom of the car, like way down by the license plate, and literally keyed into the car, like vandalized into the car, is The Jeff Pod Sucks.
Hey,
wow.
All exposure's
and I'm like,
good.
oh my god, that is like hilarious.
The guy left a review on the guy's car.
But like, it's on the guy's actual car.
Ooh.
And so I'm like, okay, this is a semi-successful podcast. It's like, you know, whatever. And it's got some people who don't like it. But I pass him at the next stoplight because I'm going a different direction. And he's got more stuff on the side of his car that like looks really nice. He's got stuff all over his hood. It looks really nice. And I see the dude driving the car. Anyways, I get home and I immediately look it up, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And the guy he's a one dude who has his podcast. His name's Jeff or whatever.
Okay.
And he has like 19 posts and hasn't posted anything since like March 2019.
And he's just driving that fucking car around.
And he's still driving this car.
Well, how do you know that's Jeff driving? Like, what if he sold his
I
car?
went on the Instagram, and it's him.
That is Jeff.
That's why I said I saw him driving.
Well, what if he's like he owns like a decal company and just fucking wrapped his car? At some point I gotta say, still, like, yeah, damn. Well, okay, I don't want
it made me think.
down. Yeah, I don't want to put down a fellow podcaster.
No. That's not the story at all. My story is to like tell the viewers
that was the
what we're going up with. Like,
yeah.
Oh. This is kind of what happens. Yeah. Like, this is a, dare I say, a dog eat dog world out here. But you gotta. But it's hard. I mean, number one, it's hard to put yourself out there creatively. Like, I didn't want to do this, because I didn't want to put more content out there. Normally, when I put content out in the world, I've worked on it for 4 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of, I mean, you guys handle most of the tech stuff, so it's kind of out of my hands. But I have to totally say, I'm on board. I think I'm having a good time.
I'm glad, Ryan. That would be a shame if after 32 episodes,
I was like, and I have come to the conclusion that you guys suck.
I fucking hate this. No, I get what you're saying, Ryan. Like, even people who are really committed, maybe they don't make it. 32 episodes, and I think we can be proud of ourselves. But shout out to Jeff's pod, who I know that's not what their name is. I hope you keep going out there, Jeff. And I'm gonna find your car, and I'm gonna key in a positive review on the back of his car, and we're gonna flood his car with positive reviews. That way, he gets the recognition he deserves, because it's hard out there in the podcast game.
You have to be a little sick. I think we have a thing. The fact that we have each other makes it easier. Going solo, I feel for him for even putting 19 posts out. The fact that we have Denali to do an Instagram, to get followers, to have the Twitter, like,
it's a lot.
That's to put the combined man hours that all three of us have for recording, editing, social media, and then
watching the damn things,
having to figure it out on your own. Wow.
Yeah, it's a tremendous it's like 30 jobs in one. If you're just a creative on your own, and it's something that Amber's talked about, because she does, she's not a podcaster, but she's a painter. Yeah. And you got to be your own promotions person, you got to be your manager, you got to apply to things. Like, that's a lot of shit.
Yeah, when I released my book, I had to hire people. I had like almost not really employees, because I hired them online, like freelance stuff, but it kind of felt like that. I have multiple designers, I have editors, and things like that. And so it's kind of, I didn't know what I didn't know until I started to put out like a professionally made product. It's like, well, okay, Am I a professional designer? Absolutely not. Am I a professional editor? Absolutely not. How many hats can you wear? You can't wear all the hats, even if you're trying to wear them one at a time.
Oh, for sure, man. And I think the moral of this is, it's like, don't get discouraged if you're putting out your creative product. It's hard out there in the grind, but Jace down in front.
I thought we were sucking our own dicks and saying how great we are. We're fucking coming for you, Dungeons and Daddies. We're coming for you.
But what we really mean is thank you guys for your support. Thanks for listening to our podcast. It's really because of you guys, because you guys chose to listen in. So we super appreciate you. But yeah, I mean, we're going to be coming up on our State of the Podcast for next episode. We're going to be talking about what we're doing for season 4, which I cannot believe. We're going to be talking about the fate of the next 10 episodes. But first we got to digest the last of our dog content that we're going to be doing, at least for this little bit. But how are you guys feeling?
Do we have a bit? I think we've got a bit incoming.
I mean, Jace, do you I
don't know that fits into our previous conversations at all.
I mean, if you've got something, Jace, before we get started, just a little aside.
Yeah.
Jace's bits. I always treasure those, man.
Thank you.
Give me the bits.
It means a lot. Here are the bits. Last season we did an episode. Good friend of ours, good friend of mine. Denali, you know him. Ryan,
yes.
You've met him. Kaimi. So last season, Kaimi provided us with a local review from out of state of Washington, from a restaurant that was the most psychedelic, insane, dare I say, Pet Cemetery 2 type review that I've ever heard.
Of the Garlic Garden Bistro.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
masterpiece.
right.
Yeah.
GGB.
Yeah. And I want to thank whoever. They're
invited as a guest, is what you're saying.
Thank you for writing that, because it is so insanely hard, one, to find a review on Google that is kind of fair. They were doing it for fun, but it was fair. There's some good, there's some bad. Most of the reviews on Google that are 1 stars, 2 stars, or 3 stars are just scathing gut punches to restaurants.
They just want to hurt somebody because they're mad about their late taco. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that we'll ever get a unicorn like that review again, but I've got some funny ones.
Okay, sweet. We got more restaurant reviews with Jace.
So I'll start. This isn't in the same vein at all of last season. And this first restaurant that I'm not going to share the name of is a buffet.
Okay. Those are the best types of restaurants, dude. That's how you know when they like come in with the shovelfuls of food.
Yeah. I don't even.
Where did you even get that food? There's a hole that just keeps filling itself back up.
I don't know where it comes from. I built a restaurant around this hole that keeps every morning there's food in it.
It's the same things every time. There's some shrimp. There's a salad. Lukewarm steak.
I don't even know how to cook Chinese food. It just happened to be Chinese food. I just opened this buffet. It's okay. It's okay. No one's been sick. Am I wrong? I'm just a simple man.
Yeah, I don't know if there's MSG, but I put the sign up. It says no MSG.
The money kept coming. I promised myself I'd stop. I'd learn how to cook and stop using the hole. But the money's too good. The money's too good. Carol left me last night when she found out about the hole.
I threw her in it.
And beef came out. The hole needs more. The more I put in, the more delicious the food.
And that's why I'm telling you this story.
The hole needs to feed. Anyways, Jace, what's the review?
This is a 3-star review from a buffet. Good food, ... But booths aren't made for large people, ...
Oh, no.
So sit at a table. You'll have more room to eat up.
You know what? I respect that review because, it's like sometimes you need to know. Like if you're a larger person, it's like you want someone to be straight up and be like, yo, like go sit at a table. Like it's not going to fit. So you know what? Courteous review.
Yeah, I agree.
And they should widen their booths.
This next one, can we, I'll take a quick aside before I continue with the buffet. Man, praise be to restaurants and people who are essential workers for working in the shit
Yes.
jobs, for providing us grocery stores and takeout food. And fuck these people that leave 1-star reviews.
Yeah, let's be clear. Anyone who works in a restaurant should be paid like $100 an hour. Because if you spend any amount of time working in one and having to deal with the pieces of shit that come in, like, you'll quickly realize they need to be making a 6-figure salary.
This one, same restaurant, recent. Can I give a less than 1 star?
Oh boy.
I know with the new protocols and restrictions put in place because of COVID-19, that it was not going to be the usual buffet experience.
Then why?
But what my husband and I experienced left me in tears with body image issues and him outraged.
Oh my God.
I don't know if I should continue this one. They offer 2 plate sizes. One is $8. One is $11. You then get to your choice of bottled drink and get taken to a table to wait to get your food. So far, so good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Once I got up there, I had them build my son's plate first. No problem with that. They had a smaller selection, but again, it made sense.
Okay.
Then I went back to the beginning to get my plate, where I then had to argue with the guy serving out the food that, yes, I did just build a plate for my son, and I too would like some food. He then looked me up and down and said I clearly had enough.
No.
In parentheses, I'm almost 9 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
I started crying, at which point my husband comes over, says just to make her a plate, and then the hostess comes over and tells him to let me make a plate. I had chose the $11 option since it was still pretty small, and by the time I got to the guy to put any food on my plate, there was only enough food to fill up half the smaller option plate. They would not let us leave unless we paid. At that point, I was done, embarrassed, and wanted to leave because I had accepted my son's plate. So my husband and I took our food and ate and left. I was humiliated and made to feel fat. This is not how you run a business at all. I recommend you all take your money to a business that won't fat shame its patrons. My confusion here, and I understand you should not be fat shaming people. It sounds like they did not have a child with them, which would have made this entire process much more clear, because she only says that her and her husband were eating,
right?
But she also has a plate for her son.
Oh, okay. So she was building.
Wait, the son that's inside of her uterus?
I don't know.
No, she's not building a plate just for the fetus. It has to be a son who's already out of the body.
But if there is a child at this restaurant and they have a plate for him, nobody's gonna ask questions about that. You'd be like,
okay,
my son over there.
Yes, that is true. However, I think the response by the employee to that would be like, okay, let's figure this out. Not, I think you've had enough. What the fuck? So at first I was on the restaurant side because I was like, okay, this is a unreasonable complaint. But then now I think I'm on the patron side. Dear God.
I'm in the middle. I think this person could be lying
undecided
about having a child in the restaurant.
Yeah.
But I also think that you're a little fat to be getting a second plate.
Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously not okay. The other thing is that people giving these reviews, they will paint themselves in the best possible light, paint the other people in the worst possible light.
Right.
So take that into consideration. There's probably a middle ground here. I mean, they probably had a kid with them, and the person was probably being rude, and they probably said the quoted material. But I don't know. It's hard to make a judgment off of somebody's character based on a review they leave.
That's very lawyerly of you, Ryan. Me and Jace, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I mean,
next
case.
Next case.
Yes, present the next case.
So this next grouping of ones, Kaimi, again, thank you for sharing these with
thanks,
me.
Kaimi.
I asked him yesterday, I was like, have you done any more sleuthing? Have you been looking? And he told me that this restaurant in Portland, the owner, they clap back.
Oh, yes.
They're a little sassy.
Oh, no.
Like
The
a
clapbacks. Oh, God.
Like a little sassy.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily think it's too bad. Kaimi said kind of a narc in all honestly. So the shit ton of 1-star reviews, which is kind of astounding, but the restaurant still has a great overall rating.
Okay.
This one with a reply from owner. Stay away. This is the worst place I've ever been to in the United States. I
The owner
warn
said
you.
this?
What? Oh no, this is the
Oh, okay.
This is the review, the 1-star review. I warn you that this is not how Soviet food tastes like. It's very far away from it, like America from Russia. Food is not tasty at all. Even the regular black tea was unsavory. Mandatory gratuity tips for poor canteen-style service make the experience even worse.
Okay.
The response from the owner. It's not supposed to be Soviet food. Reread the menu.
That there's not a we're sorry. Let's contact us to work this out. Just
No.
you idiot. Read the menu.
They have probably, it feels like 50 responses to every single 1-star review where it says,
Wow.
thanks for bearing with us as we navigate the challenges of being open through COVID while keeping our guests and staff safe. We appreciate your feedback. Copy and pasted on every single one of these 1-star reviews.
Okay.
So that's nice. I mean, that's like a sarcastic, in your face kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like if you're going to come during COVID, give a 1-star review, hit them with a little bit of yeah, shit's tough right now. This is the last one that I think that I have. It's my favorite. You can feel that the owner was really throwing some shit into this. This is the review. 1-star. Expensive. Food not really good. For cold soup. Pelmeni bread and kvass, $29.40. Soup must be warm, not cold. Probably somebody who English as a second language.
Okay,
Response
yeah.
from the owner.
Yeah.
It was cold buttermilk soup. It was 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Soups shouldn't be warm. Hot soup is hot. This one is cold.
This owner is not afraid to throw something back at someone's face.
So, Jace, I'm actually on the website of this restaurant,
Okay.
and it says one half of their menu is literally cold, like cold food, including like cold soups, and then they have a portion of very small, only 2 things that are labeled hot on the entire menu. So, I mean, the owner has a point.
They do.
Yeah.
And the cold is actually translated into Russian.
Oh, that's legit. I do respect that, like, when an owner of a restaurant, like, you know what, if you're like an employee and you're getting, like, you know, chewed out by like an unreasonable customer, that's the type of owner who will be like, no, get the fuck out, you're an idiot, instead of airing out their employee in front of the pager. Like, maybe that's a person you want to work for.
Yeah, that's kind of the great things about small business, you know. I mean, if you have a good product, you have a good location, you have a good business model, you can tolerate the bad customers. I mean, there's a couple different sayings where, like, on one hand, you say, you know, one bad customer is worth 1,000 good customers because the bad customer will prevent you from having business, but the good customers don't necessarily give you more business. But on the other hand, it's like, you know, cut your losses if you have a loyal customer base.
Mm-hmm.
Screw those guys, you know?
Yeah, tell them to shove it. So respect. Well, thank you, Jace, for those for the insights in the restaurant world. Thanks to Kaimi for doing some digging. You're not going to get paid, dog. I'm sorry. We didn't work that. You're not going to get paid. But thank you, Kaimi. We appreciate it.
This is literally all we can afford. Like a shout out.
You get paid in shout outs.
Your name's enough.
You can tell people now that I was mentioned on a podcast.
Yeah, you can tell on the GBGB podcast.
Bottom of the resume. In the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's my turn.
All right, you guys ready to talk about Old Yeller? Is it your turn to do tonight? I think it is. I think it is.
I haven't done it in a while.
All right, Ryan, take us out to sea.
Okay, so this week, if you haven't figured it out, and this is a podcast, not the radio, so you can't come in halfway.
Maybe we should say what we do on the pod. Like, Ryan, do you want to give
you want me to, like, Also, maybe we have a first-time listener.
Yeah, just
Oh,
conceptually,
no. Oh,
if
God,
someone
I'm so
looks up,
lost.
if someone looks up Old Yeller on the podcasting and they come up with our podcast,
Nobody will ever do that.
Well, do you want to just explain what we do on this podcast?
Yes. So we are 3 semi-grown men who
Children of God.
who have for some reason decided to watch 10 movies of a given theme in a row. And usually, as our title of our podcast so predicts, it goes really bland and we're sick of it and we move on to something else that we think is cooler. Right now, we're on dogs. So you're on dog 10. And the theory would predict that this is the most bland dog of all. And we'll see how true that is. But there's also a really weird metaphorical situation that we're in where we like to describe us as being trapped in a mansion. And the only way to get out of each room in this mansion is we watch 10 movies of a certain type. So right now we're in the doghouse. And this is 10. Guys, the key was in this.
In the 10th dog.
VHS. Oh, you're going with the dog thing.
Well, he might have dookied it out. It doesn't mean we have to hurt the dog. Like there's 10 dogs
from his butt with the key on the end.
No.
I was gonna say we didn't kill dogs. I was gonna say we actually we're
not
watched dog movies, which is what we're actually doing.
So
to reel in the metaphor a little bit,
Okay, so we're watching 10 dog movies, and each DVD case, just like the previous rooms, we're looking for the key. It's in the 10th.
Yeah, but we have to watch the whole thing because there's like a password or something. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Once again, the metaphor has completely flown the coop.
But the dogs are fine, and we're not pulling any string out of any butts.
Well,
oh.
So this week we watched 1957's Old Yeller.
Old Yeller.
Which is a movie that I will now have to summarize in a way that makes it sound like I'm not biased against it.
Whoa, hang on, Ryan. Now, I feel like you're going to color this in a...
He's right.
A bad light.
He said truly what he has to do.
You just hinted that you're going to say
all of my reviews are fair.
Okay.
They're all fair. However, for this one, I'm going to give it in a way that the characters in Old Yeller would understand.
Oh no.
So, my sentences are all going to have 3 words.
Fair.
Okay. Dad leave farm. Boy run farm. Boy get dog.
Boy get dog.
Boy hate dog.
No, he hates him.
Dog kill things.
Dog kill.
Boy like dog. Girl like boy.
Oh.
Boy hate girl.
Oh.
Dog save family.
Oh.
Dog get sick.
Oh.
Boy shoot dog.
No. No.
Dad come home.
Oh.
Honestly, I wish I could have just watched that.
That was a tight, athletic retelling of Old Yeller.
I mean, I went a little off course with the boy love girl or the girl love boy thing.
Yeah, it was a small portion of the movie, but it was, you want to paint a picture.
Character. You got to get not just plot. You got to get some character in there.
Yeah.
And literally, there's nothing else to be said about this movie that can't come in review form.
Yeah.
You guys, we talked a little bit about the intro song. I think the audacity of having just an intro song to the dog that starts your movie was very tight because it was like a legit country song.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, here's Old Yeller, he's running down the field, but
it was a roast. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
No.
They were roasting this dog.
They were talking about how
look at Old Yeller, this guy sucks.
He's a dirty dog who chases animals.
He doesn't know who his parents are, and they were different breeds.
Oh, wow.
Can you look up the lyrics?
Old Yeller, Old Yeller, Old Yeller. Here, Yeller, come back, Yeller. Best doggone dog in the West. Old Yeller was a Old ugly lop-eared fancy for you
trying to-
without a
Are
family
you trying
tree.
to leave out the racial slurs, James?
Sensory. Oh yeah,
Are you leaving
it
out
was,
any-
it's like an 1860s roast, not even like a 2000s roast. So it's really racist.
Yeah, like,
Normally those things get racist.
Best doggone doggy in the West.
and it's on Disney Plus. So I mean, they say things that are on Disney Plus that you probably I mean, you definitely yeah. It's from 1957, so there's going to be some of that in there. If we did a reboot of Old Yeller, where we have to redo the song, maybe we can kind of make it a little more modern.
Justin Bieber doing it.
Justin Bieber doing it. I was thinking kind of like a TikTok, kind of like SoundCloud rap remix, something that would be kind of be cool for the kids. Like,
Sure.
I'm sad that my yellow boy died. Pop some pillies just to make myself cry.
Ooh. Dude, that bangs.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Or it's kind of like yellow go woof, yellow go woof. Oh, yellow go, yeah, something like that.
Get along,
Dude, you're a hit factory.
Jesus, they haven't turned off the speakers by now. We could have something like that for the kids. Maybe less sexism, maybe a little bit less.
So if we remade the whole movie,
If we remade the whole movie,
the only thing we can keep is a boy gets a dog.
literally, actually, yeah, that boy is such a bastard too. The kid who gets the
Little
dog.
kid.
That kid fucking sucks, dude. Like, his whole thing is that he is such a dick to every animal he sees. Like,
Oh man, we gotta get in. Are we getting into the movie?
we're gonna get into the movie, dude, because when his dad leaves with him with the farm, the dad's like, hey, you take care of the farm for 3 months, make sure that donkey pulls the plow. Can you handle that? And he's like, yeah, I'll fucking crack him in the jaw with a club if he doesn't
He
pull the plow.
says, he
It's like,
says,
dude,
I'll break his jaw with a club.
this boy is the hardest motherfucker alive.
And then he's like 10.
This kid is insane.
You had to grow up fast in the Old West. I
I wrote a lot of quotes down that I thought were just absolutely ferocious. Like you think it's someone in The Godfather or like The Sopranos talking about hitting someone or like calling it a hit. But it's actually this kid in Old Yeller talking about how he treats his farm animals.
or his family.
Yeah.
I want to preface this whole subsection by saying you did say the date that this was made, 1957, and it's
Yes.
well within our right to have commentary on it. I don't think it holds up, and we're gonna shit on this movie ferociously.
Yes.
But I think in 1957 they were a little
Yeah.
bit closer to the source material than we are now.
Well, think about it this way. In 1957, this was set just after the Civil War had ended.
Yeah.
And it was less than 100 years after that. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What about?
So there could have been people, who
We're 150 something years
Yeah.
from now. Yeah, this
we're getting-
movie didn't hold up.
Yeah.
And
No,
the thing
it
is
did
like,
not.
there's some aspects of old movies that don't hold up just because culture has changed.
Yeah.
And then there's some aspects of old movies that don't hold up because hatred is a lot less okay now than it was back then. This is one of those movies where
It's-
you can just talk about an entire population of people in a negative way, and they're like, all right, I'll use that as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, there was a bit when we talk about people who are nostalgic for the 50s, it's like 50s nostalgia has kind of an undercurrent of regression in social standards. So this is people in the 50s being nostalgic for 1860s post Civil War life. So this is another step further into super duper very, very socially conservative type of shit in here. So that's kind of what we're talking about, and you'll immediately see it as soon as you switch on this movie. We're talking about the dialogue a little bit. The dialogue was very bad.
Oh my God.
In 1950s, I know there was a different standard, and this is still the golden age of Hollywood, but there's stuff like, are you really leaving for 3 months? honey, it's, or don't cry, honey. And it's like, oh, we've just never been separated before. It's just like really cliched, really hyper descriptive stuff where it's like you're describing too much. It makes me think that the really natural dialogue we have nowadays is just underappreciated because it sounds like I was watching a fucking play.
This is pre-Marlon Brando dialogue.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Okay, we can go into a short aside that's not necessarily in the episode.
Well, I think you can tell our audience quickly.
Well, Marlon Brando is popularly, but may not necessarily be accurate.
Square cactus, you can't refuse.
He's known for being one of the first people to dissect stage acting from actual Hollywood film acting, and not like, I'm on a stage and I must speak clearly and loudly so that everybody at the back can hear me and understand every single word that is spoken.
Okay.
And he talks naturally, he talks conversationally, and like you're like, what did that dude just say? Like I'm having a hard time keeping up with this guy. Like, does he know he's being filmed?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the movie was A Streetcar Named Desire was like the movie where he really took like Hollywood dialogue and turned it into like what we know of today.
Oh, I never knew that about Marlon Brando. That's interesting.
Oh, I'm actually totally wrong. This is after that.
They didn't get the memo though.
Yeah, the idea is that slowly after that there was different versions of it, and this is obviously a Disney family film where they hadn't quite gotten around into like the crazy new.
You're not gonna see artistic risks. Yeah. Speaking of risks, the stunts were like kind of crazy in this movie. Remember that scene where the kid's being pulled by the plow with the horse?
Yeah.
And it was a real ass person they were dragging through the field, being like tumbling through rocks and shit, like flying through a fence. And like, there's also a scene where the cow kicks the kid, like, kicks the bucket out of his hands. And he was just in front of I don't even know if that was scripted. There was a lot of real stunts that made me go, whoa, holy shit. Like, standards were not the same.
Can we talk about the javelina fight?
Wait, javelina fight. Which one was that one?
Where the hog is just straight ripping this stunt double.
Yeah.
So they show on screen what appears to be a hog actually trying to devour and like rip the limbs off of a human being. It
was very realistic.
Looking quite successful, let me put it that way. I don't think it was a mannequin. I really
no, dude. That was a person who was flailing. Like, that was back in a time where they're like, yeah, let's push a real guy out of the train and have John Wayne come in. And so it seems like he did it. And whoever that guy was, just whatever. It's okay.
Someone notified the next of kin.
There was a lot of that, and there was a lot of like animals.
Yes, that's probably what we need to have.
Yeah.
Like a serious talk about before we start joking.
So. There are two. I don't know about the boars. Okay, I could not find shit out about the boars. And yeah, insane. The bear that the dog got into a fight with was trained for months so that they would play together. And the wolf at the end was a German Shepherd that was painted to look like a wolf. So they were also playing. Oh. But everything else? Oh, God, I have no idea, dude.
Okay, that is interesting to know because... obviously this movie is probably not sponsored by the ASPCA because there's, the dog goes up to a real ass bear and they like kind of play fight, but it's still a real ass bear. I mean, it's a Hollywood bear, but
it's not look like play fighting. Like, no. I might take that with a little bit of grain of salt.
And then like, it's also, there's a scene where the dog is going after a cow who's trying to like ram the kid.
Man, that's what I was going to say. It's like, I was surprised that Jace didn't mention the cow. Also, because I'm worried about that cow.
Yeah, what the fuck?
For multiple reasons. Number one, that cow absolutely gets stone cold stunnered by the dog.
It's ridiculous. The dog's supposed to jump on top of the, whatever 2,000-pound cow, and the cow just like smashes into the ground. So they clearly had like a rope or something around it where they just like fucking yanked it, and it face plants hard, stops dead from a full sprint like twice in this movie, and I had to pause and rewind, and I was like, excuse me?
And then later in the movie, the cow, so the spoilers, the cow ends up getting rabies.
Yeah.
And the cow is sitting there on the ground like writhing and foam's coming from its mouth, and it looks really like it actually looks sick. So I'm not entirely certain that they didn't make the cow get sick.
Yeah, like I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, what did they do to this cow to make it have that type of reaction?
I understand the foams, you can
put
whip
shaving
stuff
cream
up
on,
and or like egg foam or whatever. But that cow, the cows don't normally just writhe around on the ground. They're not that intelligent, so you can't really train them. You can tame them, but not train them. How do you get a cow to act like it's sick?
Yeah, I feel like they were kind of straight up dicks to like pretty much every animal that was in this movie. That's probably something we could redo in the sequel. Maybe just CG. You don't need a real.
How about he's like a kale farmer?
Yeah, he farms kale, and no need for any messing up any animals.
By the way, this kid is a freaking corn farmer.
Yeah.
So it's not like half the murder is necessary, anyways.
Well, they hear me out now. I think they're farming corn for sustenance. Are they selling it?
I think the sustenance.
Their primary source of income. So that doesn't detract from them being corn farmers.
Source of income. But the beginning of the movie, the kids talk about how they've never seen $1 before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one they had seen was a Confederate dollar, by the way. And the dad had it. I'll let the audience put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, that's the vibe of this movie.
I think most of the people in the South would have still had Confederate dollars, right?
So what's this homesteader who newly arrived to Texas with Confederate dollars doing 2 years after the Civil War ended?
What a douche.
So this, kind of the theme of this movie is how this boy needs to kind of be the quote unquote man of the house, right? He's got to like kind of take care of everything, and this dog is kind of helping him on the journey, I guess. When he first is introduced with it by the dog, the dog is found by, I think, the little brother, right? The young 4-year-old brother who's just an absolute maniac, by the way.
Yeah. A monster.
He really reminds me of Greg from Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah.
A little boy.
But not in a good way.
Yeah, I feel like Greg is modeled after this kid because they dress really similarly and have the same type of speech pattern, I feel. And he's like keeping lizards and snakes in his pockets and stuff. Yeah. And Greg carries a frog in the show. I feel like that was kind of an homage a little bit.
This kid is not nice like Greg, though. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen Over the Garden Wall, it's a delightful cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Cartoon Network.
It's awesome.
It's a mini series, actually, and it's made for adults, essentially. We like it a lot. Me and Julie were Over the Garden Wall for Halloween.
You're the actual walls.
Well, no. Julie was Greg, and was Wirt.
I've got a lot of downtime this week, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, no, for sure. We have like we have the rock.
Oh, awesome.
We made our own rock, and we put it in it's in one of our plants.
I love that. Yeah, great show. But so
he has a rock. This kid throws so many fucking rocks, dude, at everything and anything.
There was a lot of rock, and that kid had a freaking arm, dude. Like that little kid,
this kid grew up to be Joe Montana.
Yeah, this kid was insane. He was flinging rocks like a pro pitcher, dude, and like he was nailing people too. I think some of the rocks did hit the dog, which was not great.
They even invented a verb for it. He's like, "Oh, is Arliss rocking you again?"
Oh my god.
So this little kid finds the dog, right, and convinces the mom to keep the dog. The older kid is obviously a shit to the dog. He hates him. And part of the plot is that he warms up to him. But there's a lot of talk from the older kid of being like, I'm going to shoot this dog. And he really wanted to shoot this dog with a gun. And there was a scene where he's like, oh, man, if this dog eats this meat I'm hanging, I'm going to shoot him. It's going to be an excuse. And then he's like, oh, wait a sec. I'm going to rig this trap so that the dog definitely eats the meat so I get to shoot him tomorrow morning. And he like wakes up in the morning with a smile, grabs the gun and runs out so he can shoot Old Yeller. So I'm just like, I was not on board with this kid. This kid sucks.
Well, let me just say, be careful what you wish for.
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys, spoilers. Let's not get to the end quite yet, okay?
Oh, come on.
Not everyone knows what happens, and maybe they skip through the synopsis somehow. well, guess what, guys? The kid warms up to the Old Yeller dog.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's why he's called Old Yeller, is because
he's literally yellow.
Yeah, and that's how they say it in Texas. And he's like, "There's the Old Yeller dog."
Well, they call all the dogs old. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Every dog is called Old. They have a dog that they talk about that they had previously, and its name was Old Bell.
Oh,
And then the puppy grows up, and they also named the puppy Old Yeller.
maybe that was a dog naming convention in the South that we don't know.
And the guy who rides up who lost Old Yeller, he's like, I heard you found an Old Yeller dog.
I think he was like 7 in real life. That the actor Spike, who played Old Yeller.
I like how you say actor.
He is an actor. He's one of the most esteemed dog actors. of the 50s.
Every review I read a review for Pet Sematary, and anytime they talked about the dog, they called it specifically the actor. There are a lot of reviews for dog movies where they only specify actor for the dog after describing
That's what they are, man. I also like how there's a whole thing in this movie where Old Yeller happens to be, he comes from nowhere, and he's the kind of the dog who's been kind of terrorizing the town, right? He's been stealing food and stuff. Yeah, egg stuffing thief.
Sucks eggs.
And that was like a whole thing. And then there's the neighbor girl who comes by and tells Travis, she's like, hey, heads up, I know it's your dog who's stealing, but I'm not gonna say anything because he's the baby daddy of my dog.
He boinked my dog.
And they're gonna have pups and they need their dad. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of weird shit to throw at me right now in this movie, because all this information just came all of a sudden from nowhere. I don't know, man.
But it made me hate, every single scene in this movie made me hate the main kid more.
Yeah, he was such a dick to that
Travis, his name, by the way. Let's name shame him outright. Travis, dude, get your head out of it, whatever it's in, because this girl is all over you and you are just being a mean person. Like, I understand not being especially nice to somebody because they have a crush on you, but you should not be especially mean to them.
Because even just from a politeness standpoint, she straight up tells him, she's like, hey, I'm going to protect your dog from being straight up shot. And he's just like, hey.
Screw you.
Yeah, walks off.
What are you, a narc?
Yeah. And then like later on in the movie, but this is when Old Yeller is like alive and well. She brings him like a puppy, like one of Old Yeller's like kids, and she's like, I saved the best one for you and I want you to have it.
And he's like, get the hell out of here. I already have a dog.
Yeah. What the fuck? This is a bit of a time skip. What's with this kid and hating the dogs that his little brother has and then stealing them and be like,
yeah, he fucking steals them.
That's my dog now. It's like he hated Old Yeller and then he's like, oh, Old Yeller's my dog. And then this little puppy that the little kid has, he goes over and picks up and like, it's mine now.
Yeah, Old Yeller was never his dog.
It's the you want what you can't have. This kid wants what he can't have. He wants an iPhone. He ain't got one.
Yeah. He
wants
about that a lot.
He wants running water. He ain't got it.
Still water. The dog took a dookie in it.
Get that dog out of our drinking water.
The background of like this movie, it's like so clearly filmed in, I mean, I'm just shitting all over it. It's clearly filmed in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And on a set too. And I'm not going to shit on that too much because I know like resources are limited especially back then to like make these movies and stuff. I just did find it a little distracting when you can see like the Los Angeles hillsides. It was just really obviously not filmed in Texas.
And that's something that people in the reviews, I think, who are a generation or two above us, when they're watching this movie, they see it more through nostalgia.
Yeah.
And they probably have a better reference point. They've seen other movies of this era, and they can kind of say, okay, Old Yeller was heads and, wait for it, tails above the others. But I don't view the same way. And when people are like, oh, it has great color, it's shot really well, I'm thinking, you morons. It's got great color, then why is the sky washed out and overexposed in every single shot? Like, why can I obviously see that the backgrounds are painted?
Yeah, and there were better standards back then too. Like there were movies that were made more carefully, I feel. But yeah. It is a Disney Channel original movie, or Disney
Channel
movie. Yeah,
when Travis grew up to be a pop star.
Yeah, like we should talk about those dudes who kept showing up to the ranch, dude. Because like, there was one guy who shows up, and like they keep talking to the mom like in a super kind of threatening way, where they're like, "Oh, it's so dangerous for a lady to be out by herself without a man to protect her." And then she's like, "Oh, haha." Yeah, and then like pressures her. He's like, "Oh, you got any food?" And like she like makes dinner, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like a funny scene, but it kind of drag out for a long time where he's clearly just overstaying and being like totally using all their resources and shit, and like won't leave when she keeps asking him to leave.
Well, I think it was probably not intended to be creepy, but it was probably intended to be this person's overstaying their welcome. You know,
Yeah.
this guy is kind of weird, as in the other men don't like him. That's why they don't invite him on a cow drive. That's why he's here to harass this woman.
Right.
But they know each other, you know, like they're quasi neighbors in a way that you can have neighbors in this sort of setting.
Yeah. And then there's another guy who shows up, and like he says literally the same thing, where he's like, "Oh, you're by yourself. The dad's gone, huh?"
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, have your mom make me dinner or something, man. I'll give you the dog back." And I'm just like, what is it with these fucking dudes who like keep just harassing this lady for food?
Yeah.
Like, are these guys idiots who like can't cook or something? Like, is that kind of they kind of mentioned multiple times, they're like, "Oh, I've been starving without a woman cooked meal." Like, yeah. And I'm like, are you guys just morons? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and that's kind of maybe the aspect that makes me think that it wasn't intended to be creepy, because you have the one definitely more creepy guy who's the neighbor, who is very strange. If you ever watch this movie, he's very strange.
Trying to get a dowry.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what's happening. This is the more creepy dude, and then you have the young, handsome cowboy who doesn't necessarily overstay his welcome, but says almost the same thing word for word. So I don't know. I don't think like oh, woman, you're trapped here with nobody to protect you. Yeah. It was like a creepy thing to say. It was more like, hey, women watching this movie, you need to keep men around because they will protect you.
Oh God, yeah, I hate that, but I think you're right.
Audible
I think that's like what they're
all around.
Gosh, yeah, like watching this movie, and I think, you know, it may sound like we're just trying to look for things to like shit on, but really, like watching this movie, it was a huge distraction. Shit like this kept popping up over and over, and we're not even talking about like some of the racial slurs and just like random shit that would pop up in here. It was just like kept throwing it in my face, and I could not focus on the plot or the dog in this movie, because I'm just like, this is so clearly made in a different time, where just I'm like, wow, I'm blown away.
Not holding up for 2020 for adults or anyone that's
Or
sensible.
2021, our year.
Yeah.
I've been saying the last year too, James.
I was thinking the 2020s. I guess
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
And then with the arrival of that second cowboy man, you know, who shows up for kind of no reason, or not for no reason, because he says Old Yeller was his original dog. Yeah. He's nice. He's a pretty cool guy, you know, without the other creepy stuff. You know, he's a cool guy who lets them keep the dog that was his, you know, for no charge. He's like, yeah, you guys seem to have a connection with the dog. You guys keep it. And he gives the boy some advice. And this is where the movie, I think, switches into a very fucked up PSA for rabies, because he like says something to the boy where he's like, you watch out for that hydrophobia here. Animals are dropping dead left and right. And it takes just this really intense kind of zombie movie type of like foreboding, because rabid animals start showing up. And I think the tone really shifted. Like, I don't know if you guys got the same vibe from the last part of the movie.
I feel it. You describing it helps me feel it. Somebody was like, I want him to kill the dog at the end. I guess it was the author of the book, but
the dog needs to die. You wrote a book about a dog. The dog needs to die somehow.
So if I could put my thoughts in.
Sure.
From okay, you have to put something in the sausage grinder in order for sausage to come out. Like stuff, like you've got to, like that's actually how to make sausage, number one. You put sausage ingredients in, you grind, and it comes out. At some point, they're like, okay, this movie can't just be about a dog hanging out with his family. There has to be some Deus Ex Machina that kind of drives the movie forward. There has to be some sort of plot device we use to get to a satisfactory like conclusion, you know, to wrap everything up. And I actually liked the rabies stuff in this movie. I thought that it was a creative Deus Ex Machina, and that like it's something you can't control. It's going to be there. It's going to descend on your life, and it's going to make things hell. And the characters are going to have to deal with it. And that's what the movie's about. And I think a better movie probably would have focused on how the characters specifically are dealing with this kind of terrible thing that happens, rather than the fact that it's happening. Like you're saying like everybody's just kind of telling you about all these facts about rabies, rather than talking about, I'm not worried about that, I'm a tough guy. Like they could have done that a little bit.
Right.
I thought it was a good thing. Like I think you should be aware of rabies, and I think that they did lead it earlier than this. They mentioned it earlier.
They did.
Circe, the crazy, creepy little dude.
You're right. It. Yeah, okay, you are right. And to your point, Ryan, I agree, actually. I think it added some good tension there. Rabies is also fucking terrifying, so, like, I totally agree. Yeah, but, like, I wish that it seemed like the other 2/3 of the movie was totally unrelated to that rabies plot.
Right.
Where it was kind of wandering, and then towards the last third, they're like, oh, shit, we need a plot. Well, and that's kind of, it felt like it was shoved in, and it was such a tonal shift.
I don't think it was done all that well, but I'm thankful that it was done.
Yeah. We got our plot point for the coming of age aspect of this movie, which was its goal. And I think I agree with Ryan. I actually, probably to its credit, the rabies aspect of this movie, like a lot of the point of this was they were trying to emulate and show what life would have been like as a homesteader in Texas. And rabies was rampant. So
yeah, the way they described it too, it really felt like and I guess that's kind of what zombie movies are based off of, something that's spread by bites, and you see all these animals that are getting affected by it, and it's scary, dude. Like, and I guess we can talk about the final the final act. Someone else say it. Okay, Jace, do you want to say what happens to our boy?
I do want to. He gets rabies from the boar, right?
No, it was the wolf.
The wolf.
He was injured because of the... Man, that's so much to process. So this kid climbs up into a tree to try and pull up a hog because the cool dude that came into town told him that it was a great way to catch hogs.
No, the creepy guy told him.
Shit.
Yeah. Okay, creepy guy told him a great way to catch hogs, which ends up with him and his dog bloodied. And then...
it turns out not to be something.
Not a terrible idea at all. But Spike is metal though. Old Yeller, honestly.
Yeah.
Little metal.
Heavy metal.
And then this, I don't even know where the wolf comes from. I think somebody was having a fire.
They were burning the cow that also had rabies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wolf comes out to attack them, and because they're having a fire and the wolf attacks them, it has rabies, and then Old Yeller protects them.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
And then
he jumps in and gets fucked up by the wolf, and unfortunately
they keep him in a cage for 2 weeks, and he's looking great. It's Thomas, right? Travis wants to take him out of the cage, and he gets into a fight with his mom. Like, how would you feel being kept up in a cage for 2 weeks? He's at wit's end. And she's like, he's got rabies, man. And this 10-year-old is like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then she tells her son, Arliss, to go to bed. And Arliss is
little 6-year-old a-hole.
He's like, I'm going to let the dog out. I want to pet that dog. Instead of going to bed, Arliss runs out to the cage and does exactly the opposite of what his mother tells him to do, trying to release the dog. And that really leads us to Travis putting Old Yeller down.
Yeah, like, I feel like Travis, I understand why he reacted the way he did, because he sees Old Yeller, and the Old Yeller starting to growl and clearly is rabid. And he comes back, and the mom is like, hey, is he okay? And he's basically like, shut up, mom. Like, he just gave her a response that was so rude. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? And then he's like, he's fine. And then the brother's like, I'm going to go play with him. And he grabs his brother by the throat, and he's like, don't you go out there. And of course the brother does. And it's like, dude, like, you just endangered your whole family by seeing your rabid dog and saying it's fine, like knowing your idiot brother's going to go out there and try to open.
Well, yeah, and to that effect, I think Arliss himself is a Deus Ex Machina. He's a force of nature, a god machine that's just hell bent on like destroying these people's families.
Oh man.
Don't you throw that rock at me, you young boy. It's like,
Oh.
cocked. He's like, I'll clock you with this shit, old man.
What's interesting about this scene, because it comes up to the famous scene where the mom comes out with a rifle and she's like, I'll step aside, and then the kid's like, no, he's my dog, even though it wasn't his fucking dog, it was his brother Arliss's dog.
Make the 6-year-old shoot him.
You gotta bury your own.
Okay, Jace.
Crossover episode.
Pet Cemetery reference.
Does he still have rabies when he comes back from the dead, though? You shouldn't. It's still.
I think that's
It's even
worse than
worse.
rabies.
It's worse than rabies. Then, oh shit, it would be like a real zombie movie then, right? Because he's a zombie dog and he bites dogs and they die, and he would bury them as the dog and they would come back as zombies. It's an extra step in the zombie process, I think, because they just die. And anyways, what's interesting about that scene, for me at least, is I've seen that scene a couple times in middle school, and there was a guy named Mr. Heath who used to substitute in our classes in middle school.
Yeah.
And he's Sarah Palin's dad. We grew up in that in Sarah Palin's hometown, and he would come in with like a bunch of animal skulls and like stuff to show the kids, and it was pretty cool, honestly. And like he would show us, he would talk about rabies for a while and show us this scene in Old Yeller, where he was just like, yeah, check out this scene. This is what you do when your dog has rabies. And I remember he subbed for my class 3 times, and he showed us that footage over and over again. And like, that's what I remember about this movie. He's like, when I saw the scene, I was like, oh shit, like that was the thing I saw in like 7th grade from Sarah Palin's dad. So
Holy shit.
yeah, I don't know. Did you guys ever have Mr. Heath sub for your classes?
No.
Growing
I
up?
think I had him in that colony.
Maybe he came in a colony. He would have like jars of like spiders and pickled hamster heads and shit. Like it was just a bunch of crazy
Okay,
stuff.
I don't remember that.
When I was a kid, I
What
thought it was
the
awesome,
fuck?
dude. I mean,
I don't remember that
Yeah.
guy. I remember us having weird subs in 9th grade, like earth science or whatever we had.
they let whoever the fuck in that place. But yeah, this I remember that iconic scene,
This
and
is
that's
it.
what's it?
Right
what?
after this scene. Sorry, go ahead.
I remember that iconic scene just from that experience, but also just I heard this is one of the saddest scenes in movie history. It's just kind of on lists and stuff. People talk about it a lot. I think I was so distracted by the rest of the movie, I didn't have the same emotional attachment to it. It was, I mean, just kids shooting that sucks. That's fucking sad.
Yeah.
And then right after that scene, it kind of switched to happy music really fast.
Yeah, I wrote down tonal whiplash.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad that we thought the same thing, because gunshot goes off and it's like, and I'm like, okay, we really got over that really fast.
I think maybe this is going back to something I mentioned during our last review for Pet Cemetery 2, in that a jump scare has to have different parts to it. You can't just have something jump out. It has to have the lead up, it has to have the payoff, and then it has to have a sustain afterwards. And this one got the lead up, it got the payoff, and then it did not know what to do afterwards. They had not figured out sad scenes in movies yet.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, what do we do? Oh no, that was really sad. Oh no, God, oh no, put something happy on so everybody forgets about it. And like they didn't care at all about having the scene make like a perfectly, they didn't want it to they didn't want to express it as well as they could have. They wanted to kind of diminish the impact of it.
And isn't that the crux of what his dad tells him at the end of the movie when he comes back home?
Okay. Right here. We're
Yeah.
remaking this movie. This is fucking Matthew McConaughey, dude.
Oh,
This
shit.
fucking speech. Now and then, for no good reason, a man can figure out. Life will just haul off and knock him flat. Slam him again the ground so hard it seems like all his insides is busted. But it's not like that. A lot of it's mighty fine. And it's just like, I can only, we're going to touch on this when the review comes. This is the moment for me in this movie where I'm like, I need Matthew McConaughey to give this speech looking at this kid right now. It's the only thing that I need in my life.
That is, yeah. I mean, McConaughey's from Texas, man. He's got that Texas sauce to make this work. The kind of the moral of what that guy was saying to his kid at first, because the kid tells him about Old Yeller, and he's like, "That's the hardest thing I ever heard. Guess you better forget about it now." The kid just shot his dog, and the kid's like, "What the fuck?" And then he's like, "Okay, I guess that was pretty bad." And
No,
he tells,
the speech was actually pretty good.
it was a well delivered speech, and the moral of it was just like, you just got to replace the bad thing with a good thing as soon as possible. And then the kid adopts the puppy from his brother, steals the puppy from, and it grows up to be another Old Yeller, and it's a happy ending. I think it was a little clumsy, but it wasn't a bad sounding speech. But you know what? They're not going to mimic a real conversation between a dad and a son in a 1950s Disney movie.
I think in the 1950s, a real conversation between a dad and a son was, "Get your ass over here before I beat it with a switch."
You ain't married yet? What the fuck are you doing?
Okay. Do we want to get into our wolfometers? I finally figured the name of our dog meter 10 episodes in. I remembered
Wolfometer, you got it.
I got it, baby. You guys want to get into it? Jace, you got a wolfometer for us.
Yeah.
So this time, can we preface what the wolfometer is versus our movie review, so I don't have to do it when I go last?
Okay.
Yes.
That's fair.
Jace, do you want to?
Yeah. So each season, we have 2 reviews for each movie. We have our thematic review, this being the wolfometer. We've previously had the McCommanometer and the Affleck meter. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to rate the movie based on, a set of loose criteria that kind of ties it to the theme. So how
good was the dog?
Yeah.
How much dog?
And above all else, I'm just going to say the number now. This is the only dog movie we've watched with a real fucking dog in it. This dog's getting a 10.
Wow.
This dog.
What? Wait.
No, this dog.
That's totally not correct, but
Air Bud? You gonna speak trash on Air
Cemetery?
Bud's name?
This dog was way better. This besides the basketball thing,
Okay.
this dog was as well. If not, this dog was doing actual dog shit that dogs would have done in the 1850s in Texas. It was corralling animals. It was keeping its family safe. The kid rode on it, which was insane. Trained it to fight a bear. This was an actual dog. Air Bud was I think this was more raw. This was like. This is like
Air Bud was a guy in a costume for like some parts. You can tell.
If we're gonna get a new Batman here shortly, this is like comparing Batmans for top dog. And I'm completely forgetting actors, honestly. Edward Cullen, Vampire Batman versus
Robert Pattinson. Yeah,
Robert Pattinson, Batman versus I'm a terrible
Christian Bale.
I'm a terrible movie
and
reviewer.
Affleck.
Christian Bale Batman.
Hey, Jace, do you have a podcast that's based on single actor movie reviews?
We haven't reviewed any of them, so I shouldn't actually know anything
I
about
thought you
those
were
movies.
forgetting Ben Affleck, and I was like,
No, I don't think Ben Affleck was it's
Okay.
yeah. We're talking Christopher Nolan Batman versus upcoming actual Batman actor Robert Pattinson Batman. I think stellar dog performance. I think the dog really hit its cues, and Air Bud had to hit a basketball into hoop, but that's because the dog could do it, and they were like, "Wow, we need to use this dog." This dog did a lot of stunts. Honestly, I think the most dog shit we've seen is my opinion of the dog in this movie, and just for that reason, nothing else. I want to give it a 10.
all right, a 10
right.
for Old Yeller. Hell yeah, Jace. You know what? And I find myself in agreement with you, Jace, because this is separate from my movie meter, okay? I've come to terms, like I had an epiphany the other day of what my dog meter is. And I think I've created criteria of, the quality and quantity of the dogs. That's kind of clear for me. I have some clarity because before I was just kind of freewheeling, shooting from the hip. But now I really feel like this movie is like the dog is central to the story, right? It's named Old Yeller, for God's sakes. Old Yeller has a huge amount of screen time, and as an actor, he has a lot of fucking discipline, dude. He is literally putting it on the line. He is attacking bears, attacking hogs, fucking coming at like live ass bulls who are charging. Like I've never seen. Okay, with all due respect to my boy Air Bud, who is still, the number one dog in our hearts. he was not putting it on the line like fucking Spike, the actor for Old Yeller, was. Spike was like risking life and limb to put out a good performance in this movie. And I think this, dramatic wise, I think this is one of the greatest dog performances I've ever seen. We're in the golden age of Hollywood, and I think this is the golden age of dog acting. You know, and obviously Air Bud's a different type of movie. It's a fun comedic romp. Okay, this is like comparing Jack Black, who's a fantastic actor, to, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis. You know, it's a different tone, and maybe this is the Daniel Day-Lewis of dogs. Who knows? As far as like being a dog person, when you watch this movie, I don't know if I'd recommend it in that sense, because yeah, they're kind of rough with the animals, and it's not going to be an enjoyable watch for you. Okay, watch a different dog movie. But I will give this dog credit for putting it on the line. Fucking 10, dude. This is a 10 dog movie for me.
Ooh. I mean, you make a good point. However, I am notoriously dispassionate.
Okay. Lay it on us, Ryan. What's the bad news?
I don't disagree with you for the most part. I just think that this movie is riding this dog's coattails a little bit. And unfortunately, I don't think Old Yeller could get to the championship with this team that he's on. Okay. Like, as good as Old Yeller is, I mean, we really care about championships here in this household. This movie sucked. So I don't know how much that's holding Old Yeller back, but I feel like it has to a little bit, because the dog for me didn't carry. Like, I really didn't like this movie. During Air Bud, I was laughing my ass off. And this movie, I was just like, get it over with. It's not that high on volume. I don't know if I can take that away from it, because I think Air Bud has a similar problem. I gotta go with, you convinced me a little bit. Okay. But I'm popping the balloon here. I'm gonna go with a 9.
That's way more fair. I was about to start talking shit.
Yeah.
Like, you gave Pet Sematary Dog a 6 for being integral to the plot. And I was like, what are you gonna go with?
No, I just think it's just like, this movie sucks.
Oh, it sucks so bad. Can we go straight into, like,
I don't
even need to do anything long. I don't want to give a long out review. I think I would only give this movie points for Arliss being a little shit child and the speech at the end, because I thought it would be funny if Matthew McConaughey gave it. The highest I can give this movie is a 2. And I don't even know if I want to give it that. I'm going to get, I'll give it a 2. It's God.
All right.
I hated it. I hated watching this fucking movie.
Was this the worst dog movie you think you've seen this season?
No.
I would. That's a tough question, because that there's a lot of convolution there.
Right.
I think
different aspects of this question.
I think I might have given a movie in the season a 0.
Yes, you definitely did too.
Air Bud Spike.
Oh, no.
I would rather watch Air Bud Spikes Back than this.
Wow.
And I gave Air Bud Spikes Back a 1. I think maybe this did something for the time. It was fuck. I want to give this movie 0. I don't like Old Yeller.
What's the official count here?
I'm giving Old Yeller a 0 because I would rather watch Air Bud Spikes Back.
Wow, you broke the scale.
You fucking broke the scale, dude.
Oh,
normally you've been sticking to a 1 through 10 scale.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
Don't tell Jace what to do with his number.
I'm just saying, he's okay to break the scale. Just recognize that the scale exists in the first place.
I think I will break the scale for this one time, and I hope I never have to do it again.
Okay, 0. No redeeming qualities. The lowest it can go. And yeah, like, this movie was a rough watch. I was trying to give it some level of reverence, because this is a hugely influential film. Like, like it said on Wikipedia, this is a huge iconic film for baby boomers. When it came out, like, everybody fucking knew Old Yeller. Like, it's one of the premier dog movies. When you Google dog movies, Old Yeller is always showing up at like the top 3 results. So I was trying to give it a sense of respect for that. I know technology and artistic standards are not going to be the same, 60 years ago or however long it was when this was made. However, it was rough for me to watch. I found it pretty boring for a lot of the times. I watch, old movies all the time, and even for that standard, It was just really plotting. The dialogue was just like nonsensical and cheesy. There was not a lot of interesting parts of it, and like we talked about earlier, there was some really dated things that were said that really pulled me out of the movie. And excuse me for being a 2020s socially conscious person, but I found it immensely distracting. And I think a lot of kids who are like our age who haven't seen this movie, when they watch this, I think they're gonna have a similar reaction. So out of all the things on Disney Plus, I would not recommend watching this movie. As far as the rest of the dog movies go that we've seen, this is scraping near the bottom of the barrel. I would say I think I think I like this better than Snow Dogs. I think Snow Dogs was the very bottom because Snow Dogs tried to be funny and wasn't, and I think that is more of an insult. So I'm gonna give this one a respectful one for me, for my enjoyment. I would watch this over Snow Dogs, but that ain't saying much. That's a one.
Okay. I'm not going to stray from that too much. I'm going to come around and say I'm giving it a 2.
Yeah.
Damn, twice as good as mine, dude. You must like it a lot. Wow.
Well, as our reliable viewers might know, I apply what I call dogflation because I think dog movies have a ceiling at about an 8, and you can't get in the 9/10s. So to give them a shot, I kind of readjust the scale. I grade on a curve, the dog curve. Now, I keep that in mind. I'm going with a 2. I thought about this quite a bit.
Wait, a dog hump. Sorry, keep going.
Dogs humping?
A dog hump, like a curve. Sorry, keep going.
I thought about this quite a bit. I think it gets points for being so gutsy and taking a really dark turn. I didn't know this is source material. There's a book. But a lot of times they clean things up. I do give it credit for that a little bit. I think that there was a 10 or so minute period that was pretty good. Everything else was absolutely terrible. And so that's all. The points come from this small slice of time. I think that as much as there's a dog curve, there's an additional curve. I don't think that a movie could be better than a 2 if all of your characters talk like Foghorn Leghorn. So that's my new scale.
Yeah.
So I think this might be as high as you can go on that scale. I hated this movie. I hated watching it. I hated listening to the people talk. I hated hearing this poor girl actress have to say the sentence, "I saw him suck a batch of eggs." Like, if you hear that and you're like, yes, this is quality dialogue to put in a Hollywood movie, Jesus Christ, please don't ever write any Hollywood movies. That's about it. Everything else I would say would just be a different form of the same roasts. Yeah. I was very sad to watch the things that happened on screen. Like, I was actually sad knowing that their work safety standards are not nowhere near what I would accept as barely minimal, in my personal opinion. And as I grow older, I was raised kind of in a rural environment. I was raised more in the hunting scene than you guys. I went hunting. I've hunted myself. My dad and my family still go hunting all the time. I still go fishing all the time. I know Jace goes fishing, but like as I grow older, I stopped seeing animals in tiers. I think that when I was growing up, most of the time I thought that humans, of course, were at the top and they're an echelon of their own, and everything is far below that. But there's dogs here, and then slightly below those, there's like cats and other things, and slightly below those, there's other domesticated animals. Then there's
throwing
like
shade on cats.
Well, then there's like, hunting animals, and then there's farm animals. And there's kind of tiers between animals, and so therefore it's okay to kill certain animals but not others. This is how I was kind of raised, and this is how I used to think. But as I've gotten older and as I've gotten decades away from killing things, I don't think that way. I do think that there's a difference between humans and other animals. Now, that might be arguable, and the degree to which might be also arguable. But after that, I'm kind of on the pitch that all the animals are kind of in the same tier. If you're so sad about killing this dog, Why do you treat your horse that way? Why do you treat your cow that way? Like, why do you say, I'm going to break my donkey's jaw with a bone club? And then be like, I love this dog so much, he's so cute. Like, it's just, I think that I'm just in a totally different mindset of these people, and they lack a little bit of self-reflection that they might be maybe presenting this worldwide movie to multiple cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's my movie review. Sorry. 2.
Good shit, Ryan. No, I do. I totally get what you're saying, dude. Like, that there was a level of disregard to the respect of animals that was just kind of very off-putting in this movie, even to other dogs, dude. Because this kid was so ready to shoot a fucking dog, and like as soon as he has like one fun outing with it, he's like, "Oh, I love this dog. It's the best dog ever. I'm sad to shoot it." But I know, different standards. I just can't relate to it, and I think that's maybe it's the big divide. Maybe there's gonna be what's a recent dog? Air Bud. People are going to see Air Bud 50 years from now and be horrified. I mean, we were a little horrified. We were a little horrified now. All right, guys. Well, that was it. We did it.
Yeah.
Guys, we did it. We found the key. We reviewed our last dog movie, and we're about to go out and take a pee at the next season with State of the Podcast.
Oh, there's no wheel today.
There is no wheel today. We have the night off. However, we do not have the week off because we are going to be planning for season 4.
Scheming.
And for those scheming, if you will, for those of you guys who, for those of you guys who are not familiar with our State of the Podcast, kind of our format, the way we usually do it, we end our season with the 10th review. And then we have a special episode where we, digest the season that we had, kind of do a little debrief, maybe do a ranking. I'm thinking about maybe we can do like a dog show, like Best in Show. And then we will spend the rest of that episode talking about what we will do for the next season. What will be the next 10 movie subject that we will use, whether it's an actor or a theme or franchise or whatever we decide to do. The way I feel like, you guys can let me know if you disagree. I feel like what we did last State of the Podcast was a pretty good format.
It was a little too chaotic because, it was out of our hands. We let the picker wheel, by the way, we let a randomized wheel online decide what season we had, but there was some input put in. Yeah. It was a little unsatisfactory for those of us who didn't necessarily want to do dog movies.
I was happy.
I wanted to do,
yeah.
So I feel like the wheel, if I may, is the most fair because, one, there's always an option for something to get picked. However, it does have our input. The more votes we give to something that we like, the more odds that'll show up on the wheel. However, that's still not a guarantee. It is chaotic.
Right. But then again,
yeah.
In some ways, it's dictating what I put on the wheel. I want to have one crazy outlandish pitch and one reasonable pitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now that I know that there's a 1 in 10 chance that my crazy outlandish pitch gets picked, I'm going to tank it a little bit.
You got to think about what you're going to pick, and you know what? Throw that crazy one on the wheel because if it's meant to be, the wheel will choose it.
That's a bit too karmic for me. But
the wheel chose to give us dog movies this season, and I was pleased with the result, even if I wasn't pleased with the movies. But this season has been a fucking trip. I'm glad we had it, and I look forward to what we'll do for season 4. Well, shit, I was itching to do.
To talk about. I don't know.
I was itching to do the wheel, but now I'm like, without another, it's like, holy shit, you're at the end. And we've talked about this with the end of the seasons, with our other seasons. It's like, oh my God, where's my next hit of McConaughey? Like, oh my God, I don't have to watch another Affleck movie, but now I don't know what to do with my life.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch some more dog movies.
I need to watch Shaggy DA.
Yes, I really wanted to watch Shaggy DA for our next season. Dog movies has become kind of like a comfort junk food for me now. But watching 10 of them, I've been Stockholmed again.
It's funny you say that because next season I already have my pitches laid out.
Dog movie.
I'm pitching my comfort food of movies.
Oh snap! Okay,
yeah.
Little sneak peek. But we don't know.
Guys, I think I have one last tidbit of Old Yeller goodness just to share with you.
Yeah, please.
Mainly because we talk about superheroes a lot. You know how you go to like a wiki page for superheroes and it has the sidebar on the
Yes.
right and it has their like kind of Wikipedia block information. Like this is the summary. This is what you need to know.
Yeah.
There's a DisneyFandom.com.
Okay.
And it's got maybe I just show this screen to you guys right now since we're at the end here, but you can look in and it's got a stat block for Old Yeller.
That
It's got feature films, Old Yeller, portrayed by Spike the Dog, inspiration, Old Yeller. The character information is really what's getting me because there's a likes section where it says
powers and
hunting,
abilities.
playing with Arliss, stealing livestock, dislikes, the coats being in danger, and then powers and abilities.
Oh my god.
Somebody
That
had
is
to make
excellent.
this.
Fuck, I wish there was like a strength, a speed. Like I feel like his
He needs a
his like
score.
charisma.
Next
is
time
maybe
we
high.
make a Survivor episode and one
The
team
dogs.
is entirely dogs.
Holy shit, we could do a 3-team Real Survivor simulator.
They would have, that's crazy because they would have the absolute largest team of what am I thinking? What's the word when people get into cahoots with each other?
Alliance.
Alliance. All the dogs would be in an alliance.
You don't know that, Jace.
Yeah, but Matthew McConaughey would be in alliance with a lot of the dogs too.
Can you imagine if you were like the only human left and you had 9 dogs to like conspire with in Survivor?
And then they vote you out next.
You got to convince them to vote out another dog. That's really great. I look forward to our State of the Podcast episode. I'm sad but also excited. We hope you guys will join us. If you've seen Old Yeller, give us a tweet, give us a comment, let us know what you thought about Old Yeller if you've seen it. Hit us up on our Twitter at GBGB Podcast. Hit us up on Instagram, Good Boys Gone Bland. Throw us a review, throw us a subscribe, 5 stars, whatever amount of stars, but please be 5. Thank you guys for listening. Seriously, this dog season has been a trip. We love that you guys are listening in to this because it definitely makes it worth it. But it's also just super fun for us to make. Thank you guys for 32 episodes thus far, and we hope you'll join us for State of the Podcast, and then season 4. With that, do you guys want to give us something to sign off on? Do you guys have like we still don't have like a sign off phrase. I wish we had something like like a woo, a woof woof.
That's probably an episode 1 topic.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing it for a while. We usually just kind of end it on like like a funny quip, or like a good sign off. Maybe a piece of advice. Who let the dogs out? Is that? This one goes out to Old Yeller. Rest in peace. Pour one out, my boy. I'm sad that my yellow boy died. Damn. Pop some pills just to make myself cry. Damn, I always thought the wolves wouldn't try. To run us down in the middle of the night. But my yellow boy was there by his side. He was the realest that a boy could ever find. Rest in peace, Old Yeller.